Hi everybody, it's Kathy here from the creative team at Scrapbook Fantasies, and today I have a layout for you that is incorporating the very vintage papers that have just been released by Alicia at www.scrapbookfantasies.com.au, and I'll have all the details down below. So today I am using all of the papers that you are being shown here, and I'm using different parts of them on each side. I'm going with the pinks and the greys today, and I'm going to also use the cutouts on the other side. So I'm just showing you this lovely collection of papers. I'm not using the blues today. I'm just actually going to use that lace side, and I'm also going to use this marble tone here and some of the fussy cutting on the other side. I have pulled also an off-white cardstock to be my border. From the chippies that are in this range as well, I'm taking the title Beautiful, and I'm using weathered paint, acrylic paint here, to colour up my chipboard, and then I'm also going to top it off with some white distress paint as well, just to give it a two-tone. Now, these chippies are beautiful. They're the new style that Scrapbook Fantasies have put out, and this is in particular to this very vintage range, and I'm using the title Beautiful today. So I like colouring up my chipboard. I prefer it to have some colour to being raw, and that's because I like it to blend in with my layout. So I'm just going to use the white, and I'm only going to use it to the top half of the chippy title. I'm not going to use it over the full amount, and that's just to give it a two-tone blend and a subtle shadowing effect for the layout. And I'll put that to the side after I made sure that I've covered it up and there's no chipboard showing. And that too is a distress paint and an acrylic. Now I have a black and white photo for this, and that's showing you that I'm highlighting the colours of the papers, taking that as a tonal effect across the layout. I am using the Victorian Velvet Distress ink here to edge my papers, and that's just to tie in all that vintagey feel all together. So I'm going to use the brick paperwork here on the background of the photo, and that's so that I could double mat it, because the inner mat I'm also going to line with adhesive pearls, and that's just to give it a little vintage feel and add a little bit of a bling to the layout as well. And pearls, of course, are always associated with vintage. So I'm just going to outline the photo with the pearls and build the framing there, and it's just a little added touch to the overall effect of the layout. So I'm just going to layer them up. I have put down a single line of adhesive, and that's so that they don't lift, because these sticky pearls tend to lose their stickiness after a while, and so just to make sure that they're not going to come off in the future, I have put that adhesive underneath. And that's how quickly it is to dress up your photo. Now, using the Victorian Velvet, I'm going to distress the edges of each of these strips that I am putting down as my base. So that marble one with that beautiful rich hessian on the background I'm using, and that is a 6 by 12, so I'm putting that at the base. I then used a 2.5 by 12 for the other pieces from the collection, and that's allowing me to have different strips across the page. That one there is with the blue granite on the background, and this nice pink with a subtle text through it on the other side. And then I have what I call the pin cushion paper, because it looks like a pin cushion, but it's got the yellow on the back. I'm using that as another strip across the page, and that's only because I'm setting it up for a lacy effect that I want in this layout. Now, using the lace paper here, which is absolutely stunning, I have used a paper punch to cut the edging here, and that's just to, as I said, build this lace feel to it, that vintage feel. You know, all vintage things have lace. So I've done the lace cutout here with my border punch, and I'm just layering that across there. Now to tie it all together, I'm just going to put in 2 rows of the adhesive here, and that's so that I can lay lace across the layout and soften up the lines that separate each of the sections in this base that I'm using. So I really do like these papers. They are nice thick quality. They retain their colour, and they are just beautiful to work. Alicia does a great job creating these papers, and we're very fortunate that we get to work with them. And by adding the lace here, you can see that I've softened up those lines, and they now look like the ripples of a lace dress. Very vintagey. Now I've also cut an extra border piece there to go to the top of my photo, and that's tying in that lace punch across the page with the top of the photo, and that's important when you are doing a layout to tie it all together. So what I'm going to do now is, with the leftover pieces of this paper, I'm going to cut out some hexagons, and that I'm going to use as features on the layout, and then I'm also going to cut out some fishtail banners, and that's just to give a little bit more layering and a little more depth to the layout. And I do love that you can mix and match these papers depending on your colour need or the desire that you want for your overall layout. Now I could use the same marble base down the bottom and go with a blue theme based on the colours that Alicia has put through this set of papers. But as I said, these very vintage papers are just gorgeous. They're just the right colours for a vintagey feel, and that's why this time I turned my photo into a black and white so that it would just reflect the colours of the papers so beautifully. And I'm just inking the edges of each of these hexagons so that they do lift up off that background, but they blend beautifully in with the background, being integral to the layout, not a stick out on the layout. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting 1.5 inch strips by 3s, and they're going to be fishtail banners on this layout, as I said, and I'm mixing up my patterns again. Now with the lace, I'm going a bit broader. I'm going 2 inch by 3 inch, and that's because I want them to be a broader fishtail than the others on the layout. So I'm just folding them at one end and cutting the triangle, and that's the quickest and easiest way to cut in your fishtails if you don't have a punch, and it always gives you a symmetric fishtail when you do it that way. So that's an easy tip to know when you're wanting to cut in symmetrical fishtails. So once again, I'm inking the edges with that Victorian velvet, and that just gives it enough of colour to distinguish it from the background, but also to give it a definition and a line factor that is important when you're layering up your elements on your page. So once these are done, we'll be able to start layering up the layout. Now, I don't use all of the fishtails in the end, but it's always better to have more than not enough. So don't be afraid to cut your paper and have excess. It can always go to a different layout somewhere down the track. I do apologise for Jack screeching in the background. He is being a little bit boisterous today. He always does when it rains. So I'm just going to put 3 fishtails up here at the top of the photo, and then I'm going to carry a line of fishtails across the bottom, and that's also going to set up the landing feature for my title, which will go in up here across here under the lace part. Now, when you look at it here, my fishtails are right down to the bottom, and then when I actually stuck them down, I had them up a little bit higher, and I should have probably gone all the way down the bottom like I originally had them. Because they do get covered when I start to embellish. I'm going to place these hexagons around the layout as a point of interest, as I said, and I'm now going to build up where I am using those fussy cut elements from the backs of these papers and building up my clusters around the bottom of the photo. And I'm just loving how this is all coming together and how it feels so rich and so yeah, historical, really, vintage. It is of my daughter at the Australian Pioneer Village. She was standing under the weeping willow there, and you can see in the background the older buildings from that time period. So it fits beautifully with the papers and the themes, and I like how this is coming out together. Now I do want this bow in there, but I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it. And off camera I just adhered all of them into place. And as you can see, I should put those fishtail banners down a little bit further so that they came out of the clusters, but that's okay. I know they're there, you know they're there. If you were to do it, you could lower them down and have them peeking out from underneath a little bit more. I'm using some Nouveau drops here just to set up my visual triangle. I'm putting them into the 3 cluster points. I put a hexagon up on the top banner there with a butterfly as one point. I have the butterfly over to the left and the butterfly over to the right, so that's allowing that 3 cluster points there. The title is adhered in, and you can see that those hexagons are popped off the back with puff tape, and that allows for some dimension into the layout as well. So I'm just going to add some ink splatters using Vintage Photo Distress Spritz, and that just adds that little bit extra to your layout. It gives it that speckled feel that vintage page does have. Like it's been aged and well worn and loved by people touching and using and reading and manipulating. And that's how this layout has come together, and you have to agree that that is just a beautiful range of papers to use for this type of photo and this type of layout. So don't forget to check out Scrapbook Fantasies. I'll have all of the details down below so that you can go and see what Alicia is creating and all of the classes that she runs. These papers, once again, are the very vintage papers. I do love them. I have partial to them a little bit. And I have got a whole lot of photos ready to go with a whole lot more range of layouts in the near future. So please check back again to see what else I've been creating with these papers. As you can see, there it is in full colour and glory. It is just stunning, and I love how it is clustered up so beautifully with those fussy cut pieces from this range. Now Alicia does have chipboard that matches, and she does have colour cutouts as well. So please go and check out the full range at Scrapbook Fantasies. You will not be disappointed. Happy scrapping, everybody. Thanks for sticking to the end. Hopefully I've earned a thumbs up from you, and I'll see you in the next video real soon.